Welcome to IHS Energy CERAWeek on Demand 2014. My name is Atul Arya. I am the business leader and senior vice president for Energy Insight at IHS. And I'm here with Secretary Ernest Moniz, Secretary of Energy for the US government. Welcome, Secretary Moniz.
Pleasure to be here, Atul.
It's great to have you here. The administration has talked a lot about all of the above energy policy. Could you talk a little bit about what does it mean?
Sure. All the above means that first we are committed to moving to a low carbon future, but within that commitment we expect that all of our fuel sources, all of our various technologies, our efficiency opportunities will all be part of the low carbon solution as it will evolve in different parts of our country. For the Department of Energy, that explicitly means that we are supporting the technology development and sometimes the policy development that allows all of those fuels and technologies to develop so that they can be competitive in that future marketplace. I want to make it very clear. I'm talking about fossil, nuclear, renewables, and energy efficiency.
Yeah.
And I want to make it also clear we are not determining what will be the market share of any of these. As long as we meet our low carbon goals, we expect, again, different places, depending upon their own circumstances, will have a different mix of those technologies and fuels.
Yeah. So it's not just only about fuels, as you're saying, it's more than just the fuels, because you're looking at other things like technology, efficiency, and so on.
Yes, efficiency across the board, whether it's buildings, vehicles, industry. Of course, it's the new kinds of technologies as well, like solar energy, for example. So we are advancing across the board, all the above. We are looking at carbon dioxide capture after combustion, say with coal, potentially using that carbon dioxide to produce more oil.
That's right.
As we produce more oil, however, we also work to reduce our oil dependence by looking at vehicle efficiency, biofuels, etc.
So both supply and demand parts of the equation.
Supply and demand, and very importantly, the infrastructure that connects supply and demand.
Yeah. So let me come to infrastructure, because you talked a little bit about earlier today about the resilience of infrastructure within the U.S., which has become very apparent in the last few years. So a couple of questions on that. How do you think we are doing, and what do you think we need to do in terms of resiliency?
Well, first of all, I think we need to pick up the pace in general, and the President has called for this many times, pick up the pace in renewing our infrastructure, most especially including our energy infrastructure. Yeah. As we build the energy infrastructure for the 21st century, meeting all the requirements that it will have. For example, the integration of very large-scale renewables would be one, for example. As we do that, we have to build smart. And building smart includes being resilient to the multiple risks that, regrettably, we have seen play out in our own case in the United States.
That's right.
Over these last years. We have resilience against extreme weather. Superstorm Sandy, polar vortices. Of course, we have droughts in the Southwest, which have affected our energy delivery systems. So we have extreme weather threats. We have cybersecurity threats. Unfortunately, we see nothing but an increase there, requiring us to work very closely with industry. We have seen physical threats against our infrastructure, and we have seen the risks that come from interdependent infrastructures. And a good example of that is, again, in Sandy, how the fuels delivery infrastructure got shut down when our electricity went down for 3 weeks.
That's right. So, and the industry can play a very important role here. What would you like the industry to do in this area?
The industry plays the lead role, frankly, because this is a case where, in the United States, certainly, our energy infrastructure is in the hands of the private sector.
That's right.
The major investments are made by the private sector. Clearly, in government, the Department of Energy, the administration has a role to play. Part of it is in making early investments, incentivizing the appropriate infrastructure. Part of it is in working with states on their regulatory structures. But ultimately, a very important part of what we have to do is simply not simply, it's complicated, but to greatly increase our level of communication with the energy infrastructure, especially so that we are prepared when a major problem arises. We know what the responsibilities are. We know, for example, what actions would we in the administration need to take to give waivers against certain restrictions of companies working together.
That's right.
So there are many things of this type which are not themselves budgetary outlays, but require us to use our convening abilities to bring industry together with the responders, so that we can have, again, much more resilience and much more robustness against the disruptions.
And also, you're saying better coordination. For example, as I recall, in the case of Sandy, there was an issue around what kind of fuels you could sell in New York, because you couldn't sell the fuels which were being made in, say, Midwest, for example, right?
Correct. Yeah. And there are issues of public reaction to various actions. It's a very complex situation, and if you don't have that communication in advance, you can expect to get a greater education than you might like as the disruption unfolds.
Yes. So other area you touched on was solar PV as one of the technologies you feel has a huge potential, as making good progress. In your speech earlier today, you mentioned that we're doing well on the panel side of the equation, maybe not so well on the balance of system. How far away are we, you think, from being cost competitive in the overall solar system, and particularly balance of system? And do you have particular breakthroughs you think we need to make there?
Well, of course, the costs, as you said, of the solar module have come down very dramatically. It is a fact that solar modules have been available, especially to utility scale projects, at significantly less than $1 a watt.
Yeah.
And to put that in context, the Holy Grail was always viewed as about 50 cents a watt. Mm-hmm. So we're not that far away from that. Even if we are at $1, we've come down a tremendous amount. However, for the entire system, and especially for a distributed system, a rooftop system, then there are many other costs to worry about, sometimes called soft costs. There are costs of meeting the standards of hooking up to the grid.
That's right.
There are costs of getting a license. There are issues with utility structures, buying back the electricity potentially. Many of these things need to be worked out. And here, unfortunately, in contrast to, say, a country like Germany, we do not have a standardization that allows those costs to be driven down as rapidly as we would like. So if we could do that, we feel we could have easily factors of 2 or 3 reduction in those soft costs, and that would be very big deal in terms of the net cost to the consumer. I do want to note, however, that even today there are many situations in which solar PV is quite competitive. Just to give one example, if you live in an island community, typically you are paying a much higher price for electricity than is the norm in the United States. In those situations, PV can be quite competitive today.
Yeah, so a place like Hawaii, for example, would be a good example.
In Hawaii, it's not surprising one is seeing a dramatic increase in solar energy.
So my last question, Secretary Moniz, is around the Quadrennial Energy Review. You're kicking that off. Could you say briefly what it is going to be and what help can industry provide on that?
The Quadrennial Energy Review is a very interesting and challenging activity that was put forward in the President's Climate Action Plan. The idea is that it's an administration-wide effort, because although we are called the Department of Energy, the fact is many agencies, of course, have significant energy equities. Department of Defense, Department of State, Commerce, Treasury, Agriculture, Interior, you name it. So the idea is that the White House will convene this process. The Department of Energy has established the Executive Secretariat and a significant capacity to do analysis of these energy problems. And for this year, our focus will be precisely on these energy infrastructure and resilience questions that we've already discussed. That will lead to a set of policy recommendations. This can only work if the private sector is playing a major role in terms of input, as well as the Congress, civil society, NGOs, universities, etc. So as part of this, and I should say, of course, this is always driven by the fact that the energy business in the United States is very large and is in the private sector.
That's right.
So we will be having an aggressive outreach strategy. I appreciate the opportunity here at this conference, CERAWeek, to be able to talk to many in the industry and to begin the process of getting their input. It will be an ongoing process, but each year we will have for the first few years, a particular focus area. As I said, this year will be on energy infrastructure.
Okay. Thank you, Secretary Moniz. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Atul.
And thank you to all of you at IHS Energy CERAWeek On Demand 2014.